directly connected to the Ashkenazim. And they are called, actually, the Brahmins are actually called, and this I know you're going to get it, they're called, and this is the truth that has to be told. The Brahmins are known as the Jews of India. So if you're talking about her mother, you're talking about her mother being a Brahmin and a Tamil, which is, she's saying, well, we come from the South India, just trying to deflect the fact that it was the Brahmins that instituted the Varna system, which we call the untouchables.
Right.
The untouchables that your boy David Duke, who went over to India and saw what they did with the black untouchables there, said that we wish that we could implement that very system over here in America.
That was a caste system.
And that's the caste system. But you remember, India had a caste system, but the caste system was based upon what you did. You were a priest, you were an engineer, you were a politician who ran the what do you call it? The caste system was based upon what you did in support of a harmonious and healthy system of governance in India. But when the Moguls attacked, they took that very secular and sensitive construction of the caste system and twisted it into a color system or Varna system. And this is where Kamala's family comes from. That's why she was easily locking up so many black men in California and keeping them on death row beyond their time and keeping them in prison in order to deal with cheap labor to boots and seeds like Timberland and to help build furniture for IKEA. This is who this woman is. And she was the one, remember that your whole system is completely messed up because she did not win the Democratic nomination to run for president. She was appointed, which means the people had nothing to do with her being put in that place to run for president. She was the one who rolled back everything that Trump had did. Everybody hating on Trump, yet still Trump was the one who got your gas bill down to $1.36 a gallon. Trump was the one who said start digging oil on lands that had more oil than Saudi Arabia. Yet still he came in, and because his handlers knows that they wanted to make sure they put this doting fool in office just to sign off on what's necessary, because he was nothing but a figurehead, he rolled back through executive order that the people can no longer dig for oil. And then he sold off all of our reserves to Russia, Ukraine, and Europe, and then went begging Saudi Arabia for oil. And then when Trump actually funded the SBCs, the black colleges, for the next 10 years with billions of dollars, they rolled that back. So now you got people twerking and thinking that black people twerking somehow, she got you in your mind thinking that you into this Megan Thee Stallion twerking is what's going to bring you in. And then she switches from her Tamil and her what is that, Brahmin, and now she's talking about, yeah, man, we got to make grits and we got to do this. Come on, collard greens, or collard greens, grits, whatever.
Hey, Doc, let me. I'm sorry, Doc. Let me ask you real quick: is oil gonna be, because you talked about Trump and the oil? Is oil going to be as important going into the future as it's been in the last 100 years?
Yes, because essentially, maybe people talking this stuff about electric vehicles, electric this and electric that. Electric vehicles ain't going to be ready for the next 50 years. And they got people dealing with this Green New Deal nonsense. She's the one who signed off on that Green New Deal as well. She signed off. Matter of fact, she's part of the what they call the oil cartel. Okay. The oil cartel at this very moment has tried to kill this young dude named Maxwell Chikumbutsu. out of Zimbabwe. The oil cartel and the Green New Deal cartel just poisoned Maxwell Chikumbutsu, who invented a TV that doesn't need to be plugged into the wall. It gets the energy directly out of the air. He invented a helicopter and a car that runs on Wi-Fi. And right now he's in intensive care because they tried to poison him, and his staff around him has been receiving death threats. She's part of that. And most people are not picking up on what's really going down. Who's Megan the Stallion? Why are you calling a woman a stallion? Why isn't she Megan the mare? A stallion is a male horse. You have a lot of things that's going on that most people are just taking in and not really doing their due diligence to find out why. An immigrant is one who is coming completely from a whole other country. And they're not even using the word immigrant anymore.
Yeah.
They're using, they're not using illegal immigrants. The words illegal immigrants are now taken out of the lexicon.
Yes.
Why? So that when they say, when some people start talking about immigrants, you can tell them that they're racist or they're this or that or this and the third. You got to listen to what it is that those who are right now in charge of how you think, you got to listen to how it is that they are manipulating you by telling you everything that they did. Look at this. Kamala is saying, when I get into office, I'm going to A, B, and a third. Heifer, you already in office for 3 years. So what you're going to do now is you're going to get into office, and when you're president, you're supposed to now clean up and do everything that you're supposed to have done the last 3 years. People are not listening and saying, wait a minute, you've been in office for 3 years, 3.5 years, and you're telling me that all these problems now you're going to take care of during the time that you were there creating the problems. Meanwhile, everything that you're saying that Donald Trump has done is what you did. Everything that you're saying he did, you did. Everything you're calling him and telling him he's the fault for. I'm not saying, listen, it's one mafia versus the other mafia. You choose which one of the godfathers you want to deal with. You want to deal with Al Capone, or you want to deal with Meyer Lansky? I deal with Al Capone. Why? Because they both deal with criminals. They're both criminals. The whole goddamn country is run by criminals and created by criminals.
Wow. And
most people don't know that all the people that are in government right now, 86% of your Congress is essentially under the APAC. Everybody worried about Hamas, talking about what Hamas did. Do you know that Netanyahu was funding Hamas? Has anybody even paid attention to that? How do you allow people to start wars? When the military-industrial complex needs a war, they're the ones who create the conditions for war to take place. So what did they have to do? You have to remember, again, what was going on in Gaza that was necessary that we had to look at to see what's happening. There is a plan to build the Ben Gurion Canal, and it runs right through Gaza, from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. And they needed to move the population out of there because it's going to take at least 500 nukes to dig the proper trench to bring the waters in for them to create that as the bulwark against the Suez Canal. Because that's going to be the pathway of the new Silk Road. They're not telling you all of this. All you know is what they're telling you on TV. You don't do the research to find out why. But it was not me that said that they were funding that Netanyahu funded Hamas. It was Haaretz itself that did the investigation and found out. And when they found out who it was that actually shot up the festival, they found out there was Israeli helicopters, Apache helicopters that were killing their own. So you create the same way they did for when they wanted to get into Vietnam in order to destroy the Buddhist influence in the north. They did the Gulf of Tonkin so that they can use the excuse to go in and kill off the Buddhist population that actually was in charge of, or the people's Buddhist faith and religion was up there in the north where all the oil was.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, I'm sorry that the truth has to come out. I mean, we're in a dangerous time, beloved brother and sisters out there. If this woman gets in, we are truly screwed. We are truly screwed. And all the women are this. Well, what did she do? Tell me what it is that she's done that makes you the. Well, she's a woman. Oh, really? She's a woman. That's her accomplishment. And that's what you're saying. You're going to put her in office to give her the nuclear football. And here we have, and this woman is menopausal. You want to know why she cackles and laughs so much? She has a heart condition. And she has a mental condition. And Judge Joe Brown told you that. But you're not listening to anybody other than The View or any of these people that's pushing the fact that she's out there as a smart woman. No, she ain't smart. She ain't smart.
Right. Let me introduce spirituality to this conversation, this political conversation, and what's going on. They say, and I know you studied, you know about all these sciences. They say, Doc, next year is the year of the snake. So they say, and this is in, I think, Chinese. I think it's Chinese astrology.
Yeah,
I heard. I forget the gentleman's name, but they say in 1989, when it was the year of the snake, the Berlin Wall fell. In 2001, when it was the year of the snake, we had 9/11. So they say in 2025 is going to be one of them years resembling the fall of the towers or the fall of the Berlin Wall. What do you think about that and its connection to it has to go down because spiritually speaking, that's what it represents. That's what the energy signature represents.
I look at it this way. Trump wins and the deep state uses the disruptive force of what is it? Anfida? What is it? Antefida? What is it?
I know you're talking about Antifa or
Antifa.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, and we got to be ready for all kinds, because you got to remember, for the last 3.5 years, they've allowed over 3 million undocumented people coming in here. And when they start talking about the fact that, well, you know what? We brought down the amount of people that are coming across the borders now. No, they didn't. What they did was they rerouted the people and actually are flying them directly into the states now, rather than them coming through the border. So who are the people that they say are of military age, especially the Chinese that are coming in, the people that are coming in that are undocumented from the cartels coming out of Mexico? Child sex trafficking is at its heights now, ever since Biden and them got in. So what we have now is an infiltrated army waiting for orders. And remember, everybody said, well, Doc, you know, this conspiracy theory. No, it ain't. How do you actually conquer a stronger opponent? How do you get to a stronger opponent? You have to erode the infrastructure that made that particular opponent powerful. The first thing they went after were the women, because the women were more easily influenced. They were told that they were being persecuted by being wives, by being mothers. And these were rich white women that were pushing feminism, along with the Rockefellers and those who were in charge. That then now eroded what was the cohesive strength of family that actually was the foundation to the cohesive strength of community, which was the cohesive strength of the politics that actually we controlled government at that time. From that point forward, where women sought love and men sought power by giving up love, and women sought love by giving up power, the equation switched. And the women who, men who knew the dynamic of what it meant to be a woman, meant to be a man, they had to destroy that cohesiveness. They had to give women power and had men seeking love. So what you got men now is going up on these OnlyFans and jerking off to these sick ass women, young women who getting big payment for showing their asses on screen and saying, well, that's empowering me. They were taught that their bodies now became a commodity that would make them rich. And they got rich, but they don't know what to do with their money. They got rich and it all went. Okay, so now we have an infrastructure where young people no longer want to get married because the women with power are saying we don't need no men. Remember? And I'm talking about this generation. Very few women are now coming to understand what's really going on and how they were bamboozled. So now you have an erosion of the infrastructure of society. Women have been raising men, so now men have been actually imprinting the emotional vibrations of women instead of men. And men now, you're saying, well, they don't want to be, we don't want to, we're deadbeat dads and the whole nine yards. But they're talking about the fact that black men are the ones that are more committed to their children than the whites or even Asians, and that's statistical. They don't tell you that. They keep that from women, black women especially. So now you have women who are no longer essentially giving them, who are no longer essentially being the homebodies or supporting of the men. And young men are being raised to say, well, my wife is telling me that my father ain't shit and he's this and he's that.
Yeah,
but then we find out that now, and it's in my book, The Wounded Womb. It's in my book, The Wounded Womb, that 63%, it used to be 51, but 63% of the DNA of children that they take DNA, come to find out through the doctors and through the DNA that the child that man has been raising ain't his. And they call us dogs. And yet still Maury Povich, 65% of the time on Maury Povich, that was not the father.
Yeah.
So now that they instituted mandatory DNA testing, now the women are all up in arms now. Why? Because we took that power away from them. You see? And I'm for deleting. I'm for saying, I don't remember which one of the amendments that got women to vote, but I say that we got to repeal it. Indeed. Because if they're putting people like Kamala Harris into office, and they put Biden into office, and they put these sick people, the agenda for everything you're seeing, the homosexual, the LGBTQ, the cross-referencing, all this, all came from the feminist movement. Because women are unconditional in their acceptance of whatever it is that's going out there in society. They are the consumers. 98% of everything consumed is by females. So they consumed this mentality and are supporting this mentality. Every time you look around, it's the women who are supporting all of this perversity. The men are the ones that's become conservative, and the women have become super liberal now. Not all, though. A lot of them beginning to see just how sick this society has become based upon how feminism has perverted it.
Indeed. You know, and I see a big gender divide happening with the whole Trump Kamala thing and the men going the conservative side and some women taking the liberal side. And do you feel as though because a lot of, you know, the same way we criticize Kamala and a lot of people will criticize, I've heard people criticize black men, and for, you know, it's almost as if people feel as though it's almost as if black men look at Trump as like their master, like their savior. We have other people on the ticket, whether it be Robert Kennedy Jr., whether it be Cornel West, but there's something about Trump that it's almost as if people feel black men, and I can see their point. I can see their point. They feel as though black men just want to defend him no matter what he does. It's cultish. What would you say about Trump's cult-like following and why black men have gravitated toward that cult-like following?
Well, you got to look at the fact that black men, if they're logical thinkers, would see exactly what happened over the last 4 years and know exactly what was not told about Trump back in the days when he was a Democrat. And they go back to that thing about the Central Park Five, when he said that they should be A, B, and a third, and they should be hung or this. He was actually being fed information from Democrats and the lawyers who told him what it is that they saw and heard from the community. So he was just going with what it is he was told by black people. So now you have a man that actually was the person who quietly invited Whitney Houston to Mar-a-Lago to dry out and to rehabilitate. Quietly invited his house for her to come and heal. Quietly, he was the one funding Jesse Jackson. That's your racist right there. Back in the day when Trump was not running for politics, he was a black-white man. Everybody loved Trump. They put him in his music, in music videos. They knew what his appeal was in the black community. They had to kill that. Black woman living inside of his Trump Towers, sleeping in the Trump Towers. His security saying, hey, this woman been in here now, we need to kick her out. He said, nah, don't kick her out. Get her a blanket or find her a place where she can be more safe. You didn't hear about that one. How about when Mike Tyson couldn't fight any place because nobody wanted him? Who gave them his hotel to be able to fight? How many people did you see? How many black women you saw him back in the day when he was playboying? He was with black women. Yeah, he's a racist. You got to look at the fact that these devils are actually demonizing him because they know that he is all about America. He's all about, quote unquote, patriotism and that. And of course, white people want that. And so immediately they say, oh, he's got a cult. The only cult here, the only person that's telling you, you got to think a certain way. You can't say certain things. We're going to ban you. We're going to censor you. Is the Democratic Party. That's the party of the cult. The people who are dealing from the Republican side are individual thinkers. And the Democrat side, those are the ones that are the cult. And they don't even know the history of the Democrats. That most people don't know that the abolitionists who was against slavery actually morphed into the Republican Party. Right. Did anybody know that? Did anybody know that the National Rifle Association, before it became that, were the ones that actually fed and gave munitions to the Deacons of Defense when they came back from the war? The Deacons of Defense formulated a defensive posture against the Klan, and the ones who gave them the bullets was the National Rifle Association.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But see, black people don't know history. They only know what they've been told. They only know what they're told to think right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and I want to ask you one more question concerning politics before we move on. But before I do, I wanted to wait till we had 2,000 people in the room. We got about 2,400 people in the room right now.
I hope they hating me, or they hating on me. They're hating on me right now, right?
Nah, you good to go. You know, I mean, obviously people are going to disagree, but you good to go. You know, it's it's a healthy conversation happening in the chat. And so I appreciate it. But yeah, like I said, one more question about politics, but I want to share this with the family. I want to wait till we had a packed house. So shout out to everybody in the building. I want to share Dr. Valentine's PayPal and his Zelle. He's banned from Cash App, so I just wanted to share this with y'all. If y'all would like to support or donate to the elder who's been around for over 40 years. And one thing I've realized about the elders is they're a little bit more unfiltered than the younger speakers. I remember talking to Dick Gregory, and he was so unfiltered and he was raw. The elders are a little more raw. So you're going to get a little more rawness from the elders. So, you know, you have to understand where they're coming from. They've seen a lot, and they don't want to see certain things happen. So, yeah, definitely, if you would like to support this brother right here, this elder right here, his PayPal, cometearth@gmail.com. His Zelle, Sanu777@gmail.com is on the screen. I'm gonna leave it there for a little while I ask a question, and I don't want to keep the elder here too long tonight. He has, he has a personal life that he has to tend to. And I want him to do what he got to do. But when he gets off this line today, I want him to say, damn, Brother Rich channel supported me. They appreciated the message. They understand where I was coming from, and they understand that I was coming from a place of love. So make sure you support the brother. PayPal, once again, PayPal, cometearth@gmail.com, and Zelle, Sanu777@gmail.com. Shout out to everybody in the room. We got about 2,300 people in the chat. Dr. Valentine, one more question. In terms of politics, I want to know, as a black man in this country, do you feel as though, and we're talking about Trump, we're talking about Kamala, and it's a subject that's divides a lot of us, philosophically, if that's the word I should use. But do you feel, Doc, that white patriotism is safer? Black people we deal a lot with safety because of our experience in this country. Is white patriotism safer and better for black people than corporate greed? Because, and I ask you that because I feel as though Trump represents white patriotism and Kamala represents corporate greed. Is white patriotism safer and better for us as a people than corporate greed?
That's a very good question, because you got to remember, and of course, shout out to you for your questions. That's why everybody loves you, brother.
Thank you.
Here's what the deal is. Corporations who run governments, it's called fascism.
Yes.
So if you have corporate greed and they have an open book or a way of just completely doing what they want to do in order to achieve their goals, that's fascism. That's exactly where we're headed when we're dealing with Marxism, because corporations who deal with corporate greed have to consolidate power under corporations. Now, what has happened is they have a stopgap to that, and the corporations were very pissed off with this particular move by the Supreme Court. The Chevron deference doctrine. Look that up. Chevron, Chevron, deference doctrine. The Chevron deference doctrine repealed or rolled back the power of the corporations to dictate law. So what they had for the last, say, 60 years was that the Supreme Court made it so that corporations could then set the rules for how people participate with that corporation if they wanted to be employees. So they had to have the vax. They had to do A, B, and a third to completely put aside their autonomy and their First Amendment rights. So the courts gave the corporations the ability to dictate law that was not made by the Congress. With the rolling back of Chevron deference, based upon the fact that I did I don't know if anybody was there at the lecture that I did with Kennedy, with Robert Kennedy Jr.
I was there. You invited me. I was there in Harlem. In Harlem. Yes, sir.
And we broke the fact that any kind of vax is actually a operation. It's a surgery. So anything that pierced the skin is considered by law a surgery.
I don't want them to take this down, Doc. So be careful with that.
Yeah, okay. But, you can pull it down if you want. I wouldn't want to mess with your thing here. No, but I just wanted to make sure that you understood that anytime the corporations take over, what they wanted to do was to set the rules to bypass your constitutional rights.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're talking corporate greed, what is corporate greed? Corporate greed is consolidation. It's monopolization.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're dealing with this cult you're talking about, these white crazy people who are dealing with a cult, I can deal with it. Just give me the right amount of guns. I can deal with these people who are talking all this shit. They know white supremacy. Yeah, come on with it. Bring it.
Oh man.
So I ain't worried about Trump's followers. I'm worried about the people that's going to give jobs to my people,
right?
And tell them they have to come with my rules and regulations and be damned with your First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and Fifth Amendment rights.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a choice I have to make, then I got to go with seeing what it is that Trump's cult of personality is about. Otherwise, if I'm dealing with Kamala and the corporations, I have billions of dollars like these black, what's the name? This corporation called Black something. They own damn near everything.
BlackRock? Is it BlackRock?
BlackRock, right. Yeah. They got BlackRock, which is a coal, which is, again, carbon. But BlackRock, essentially, is running everything. They're running, they're the ones suppressing XRP. They're suppressing everything. And also there's they came up against the Novatech. So if you want to join the Novatech, for those of you who were on Novatech and have not gotten any satisfaction, just let me know. Hit me up on my Sanu 777, and I will forward the that was given to me by my attorney. I will forward the class action suit that they have against them, and you can join the class action suit to get your money back. Okay, that's just to let you know, just to answer that question.
And Doc, I'm going to get to a couple of questions before you get out of here from the people, but I want to ask you this last question since you brought up, finances and money.
Yeah.
What, a lot of people, it was predicted this year was going to be a huge explosion in the cryptocurrency market.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin was going to go to 100K, and
yeah,
there's going to be so much happening in crypto. I seen Bitcoin did rise. It went from about, it did go up to about 60. I think it's at 57,000.
67,000.
Yeah, but it didn't go where I seen a lot of people predicting it was going to go to crypto market.
Right.
Has things changed in terms of the future? Because things are moving so fast.
Yeah.
What's going on now at this point with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and everything? Has things changed, Doc?
Prices are being suppressed because those who are in charge are gobbling up all of what it is that's going to be of worth in the future. BlackRock has bought out and are going to use, they want to buy out the last vestiges, the last amount of Bitcoin, so that they can manipulate the market through the Treasury and through the Federal Reserve.
Crazy.
So BlackRock wants that. As far as Ripple is concerned, when you're dealing with the XRP, they are purposely suppressing that price. Every now and then, if you look on the private side, which is a glitch that comes up on this on the radar, you'll see the real price of XRP, which is like 12,500, 65,000, 50,000 per coin. But when you come back here to America, where it was created, you got the Congress, you got the SEC, and you got the Khazarian mafia who's running it all, making sure that they suppress the price, because that would then free everybody up from the system they put in place back in 1931. So the suppressing of the price and making sure that they gain control of the cryptocurrency market and gain control of the blockchain so that they can control the private enterprises that would go on between you and me. There would be no middleman. And that would free up trillions of dollars that most of the countries have to hold in order for that old SWIFT system to work. Right. The SWIFT system works based upon you holding a collateral, so that if I want to go ahead and send money to Switzerland, for example, they have to hold on to a certain amount of money to make sure that that transaction that I make to send money from the dollars to the Swiss franc, that money that the Swiss bank is holding has to be the collateral that ensures the transaction takes place. When you get off of all of that, the money comes back to you. Trillions come back. And those who control that SWIFT market may have to make sure that that does not happen, because they lose. They pimp money. The fact that it takes 6 and 7 days before you get your money, 3 and 4 days before you get your money. Same thing with Bitcoin. You Bitcoin, you buy something for $65, you're paying $100 in electrical fees. So the $65 is $165. So all of that goes once this new blockchain situation sets up, and they've been using it overseas.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah, leave some questions in the chat. I want to get to a couple of questions from y'all. I'm not going to keep Doc on here too late tonight. It's already 10 o'clock.
Don't worry about it. I like talking with you, my brother. You have no idea.
I want to ask you this before we get to a couple of questions from the family. You know, a rapper just passed away, made a transition. His name was Rich Homie Quan. They said it was an alleged overdose. Some people are speculating whether it was or whether it wasn't. But we've seen a lot of drug overdoses with rappers, and not just rappers, actors, fentanyl, and just people in general in the last couple of years. I also noticed, I was talking to Red Pill, and I heard Red Pill talking on his broadcast recently about
out of whatever hell that this society has placed their current mindset in. This is to escape. It's not to act. Usually back when you use peyote, mescalito, and you use the ayahuasca, these were ways for you to help transcend the physical body so that you bring back knowledge that you use on your journey while in this meat suit, while you are in this avatar that the Most High created for its own experience of itself. But so now what the plants were saying to the shamans and to the elders and to all of these people dealing with Obia and so-called Voodoo, these were the people who were speaking directly to nature. Right now, the reality that we had struck between nature and us was a direct connection, a direct relationship. But in comes this European who essentially does not have the ability for a direct connection pineally or spiritually to the technology that nature is. Because nature is a technology. It's a higher form of technology because you have to interface with it through your spiritual body. Because he can't do that, and because the information that was given to us as melanated people came directly from the plants, How did they know that the ayahuasca needed another particular plant for it to work? Because the ayahuasca told them that. How did they know about it? They tried this, they knew what it, they understood because thousands and thousands of years. Remember, we didn't come from 6,000 years ago, and so, but we were here for hundreds of thousands of years. There's so much evidence of us buried in the oceans, buried underground that this white man is finding. Remember, I told you, everywhere the white man digs for evidence of his own beginnings, the blacker the planet gets.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Remember? Mm-hmm. And so what's happening is because we are no longer in charge of that particular technology, the European now has created a visceral or a extension of his own mind through his own interpretation of what he calls technology. Everything is to enhance what his melanin can't do. His melanin cannot interface with spirit. It cannot know God directly. You can. So he has to know God indirectly. He has to learn how to dance like you. Because your dances are in a specific rhythm that's embedded in your DNA. Mm-hmm. The dance was your way of connecting. That was your Wi-Fi.
Ooh, talk to me, Doc. That was our Wi-Fi. Yes. What you talking about?
You look at the African dance.
Oh, man.
Our Wi-Fi. You look at the brother that they showed you, the brother who's the Ijiji, who dances like the...
Yeah, I seen it. I seen it.
Yeah. Who you think he's tapping into? The bird that does that, the bird of paradise, does the same thing he's doing. You don't have the ability. That's why interfacing technology with him is to put on an exoskeleton. That's why Iron Man is so big. Because he's a weak little piece of shit until he puts on his technology. Look at Tom Cruise. When he was dealing with putting on the exoskeleton that gave him bigger strength and so forth. Everything is about melanin, his lack of ability to interface spiritually, because he's a second order entity. We, the original people, are first order entities. First order entities interface directly with God.
Doc, I'm glad you mentioned Iron Man. I asked this question to somebody before. I don't know if it was Billy Cost. It was somebody. I don't ask, hundreds of thousands of questions, Doc, so I forget sometimes. But you brought up the topic of Iron Man and his technology that he used to do these things because he was weak without it. Right. One of the main technologies we use in this realm, Doc, is the subconscious mind. And a lot of people teach us how to tap into, yourself included, Napoleon Hill, teach us how to tap into the subconscious mind so the conscious mind, the monkey mind, could get out the way. My question, Doc, is the same way Iron Man talked to his technology, his suit, and he gave it a name. He said, Jarvis, I need you to do this. Should we have a name for our subconscious mind in order to make it a more intimate, personal relationship? Therefore, it understands us better. Therefore, we get more accomplished, just like Iron Man did with Iron Man, aka his suit.
We did. We set up whole temples to that. And we call that second consciousness Heru. We call it Ast. We called it Ast Osiris. We called it all of the names that we expressed on the walls. Those were our consciousness talking to us. That was the higher levels of God. Remember who Jehudi was. Jehudi was the interpreter of the mind of God. You always saw him with a quill, writing shit down. Why? Because he was interpreting the higher frequencies of God and actually causing them to become attenuated into the word, W-O-R-D. Remember I told you W-O-R-D is fire, air, water, and earth. Right. These are the foundations of the pyramid of life. So when you're looking at consciousness, you're looking at the bridge to your creator. His consciousness is blocked. Because remember, you remember one of our great leaders, Carol Barnes. as well as Richard King, who was dealing in melanin, said that melanin was the mellow molecule. It made you mellow. You don't want to fight. You don't want to go through no kind of super changes or nothing. You wanted to blend in and love everybody. That's why everybody accepted this Caucasoid. And he came in and I mean, you got to look at the fact that he talks about, you know, he's got his people who run interference for him. Well, everybody had slaves, that kind of thing. He doesn't want to talk about the fact of his particular position in this particular equation that we see right now, this dynamic, this social dynamic. But since the Caucasoid came out of the caves and was given the technology by us, okay, and we gave it over to him through Abraham and everybody that they talk about in the book. Do you know that he killed off 58 million native peoples or autochthonous peoples? And I'm not just talking about the ones that came from Asia. I'm talking about the black population that was here, the true indigenous people. He killed off something like 18 million in World War I and 80 million in World War II. Europeans killed. Let's not even talk about King Leopold, who killed 50 million Africans. And yet still they're telling you that Hitler was the one that's the most heinous. This white man is about a death cult. That's all he knows. Even the woman, what's her name? I forgot her name. She said that the white man didn't ever bring a damn thing to civilization. He never even brought religion. Matter of fact, everything that they're worshiping now, this Jesus the Christ and the whole 9 yards, was a black religion. They had no religion. You are the ones that are the saviors of humanity, and they fear that because they would no longer exist. Their whole mentality would die, and that is what you see today. Everything about what the European brings is a death cult. And the only time that you see the peace that they're having is because their people who are benefiting from it are saying, you know what, it's enough blood. I'm tired. Let me put my sword up. You want me to go kill more people? Why is it that the United States has over 150 different military bases around the planet, more than anybody else on the planet? Does Russia have any kind of military bases on our soil? Does China? Oh, China now, yeah, because they're bringing China up through the southern border, and they're housing them in the military bases because they're the ones who have cut in. Because you got to remember, Mao Zedong was actually trained by the Jesuits.
Right.
And that so-called communism was actually from the Jesuits.
Right.
So you have to understand what's happening. We're under attack. It's a subtle form of attack, but they're using all the different points. You're not just using one weapon. It's psychological, of course. And they had to